2:07 a.m., a desperate scratching echoed through the station's glass doors. Officer Anthony Mercer froze.
Brandon, heel. What is that?
Brandon didn't move. The Malinois padded to the door and sank down, belly flat, a low whine trembling from his chest.
I gave you a command. Attack.
A bloodied paw pressed against the glass. The Bobcat was pregnant, her flank torn open, her tufted ears flat with exhaustion.
Brandon had never disobeyed a command. Not once. Why now?
Anthony's hand drifted to his holster, but his fingers wouldn't close around the grip. The dog's posture was unmistakable. Not fear, but recognition. Brandon whined again, pressing his nose to the glass, tail giving a single thump against the floor. The attack-trained K9 had lain down beside a wounded predator, and every protocol in the book said Anthony should put that Bobcat down, but he couldn't move. Anthony unlatched the door. Cold air rushed in, and the Bobcat staggered across the threshold, her breath ragged. Brandon immediately pressed forward, but not with aggression. His tail wagged low, his whine almost mournful.
Steady, boy. Let her be.
The Bobcat collapsed, too weak to stand. Brandon curled around her, his massive body forming a shelter.
This is insane. If the sergeant walks in.
But he was already grabbing supplies, bandages, a blanket, the phone. Animal control wouldn't arrive for hours. The dispatcher's voice was distant. Anthony watched the Bobcat's belly ripple. "She's in labor," he whispered.
We're having a baby tonight. Brandon, maybe more than one.
He helped her into the holding cell, spreading the blanket over the cold floor. Brandon never left her side. A contraction racked her body, a sharp cry echoing off the cinder block walls. The night had just begun. The station door slammed open. Sergeant Jim Kowalski stood there, fury tightening his jaw as he stared at the holding cell.
"Mercer, what have you done? That beast should be put down, not coddled like a house cat."
She's injured and in labor. Sergeant, I couldn't leave her to die.
Brandon rose, a low growl rumbling in his chest, placing himself between the sergeant and the cell.
"You'd risk your badge for a wildcat? Call animal control now, or I'll have you both suspended."
A sharp cry cut through the argument. The Bobcat's body convulsed, and Anthony dropped to his knees beside her. Minutes bled into an hour. Then a tiny wet kitten slid into Anthony's trembling hands. The first breath, a second, followed. Smaller but fiercer. The Bobcat licked them clean, Brandon's tail thumping softly on the concrete. Sergeant Kowalski stared, then turned away. Fish and wildlife will be here by morning. Clean this up. The door closed behind him.
They won't take her, Brandon. Not if I have anything to say about it.
In the ringing silence after Kowalski's departure, Anthony knelt to adjust the blanket and his fingers brushed cold metal. A GPS collar hidden under matted fur.
This cat isn't wild. Someone's been tracking her.
He gently turned it, revealing a tiny engraved plate. WS-889 BC. No agency name, just the code.
What are you, girl? Where did you come from?
He snapped photos with his phone, every angle, then pulled out his personal contact list. Dr. Laura Chen answered on the third ring.
Laura, it's Anthony. I need you at the station, now. A pregnant bobcat just gave birth, and she's wearing a research collar. Something's not right.
She agreed to come at first light, her voice tight with warning. Don't touch the collar. It might still transmit.
Transmit? To who?
Brandon rested his head beside the bobcat, a sentinel that refused to be dismissed. The dog knew something, and now, so did Anthony. This wasn't a random encounter. It was a message, a clue, and someone, somewhere, was watching. By 7 a.m., Dr. Laura Chen pushed through the station doors, her medical bag swinging. She went straight to the cell.
She's stable, but this collar, it's from a study monitoring canned hunting operations. This cat was someone's target.
She connected the collar to her tablet. A map bloomed with a jagged red line, a frantic 15-mile escape through woods, across roads, over a river. The trail began at a property marked Cross Ranch. Anthony's blood went cold.
Cross Ranch. We raided that place 6 months ago. We found nothing, but the whole team knew we'd missed something.
Anthony, that ranch is owned by Eldon Cross. He's connected, and he doesn't forget. If she escaped from there...
Then Brandon recognized her scent. He was on that raid. He must have smelled her that night.
The air thickened. A routine night shift had just cracked open a case file everyone had been told to forget.
Be careful, Anthony. If Cross finds out you are poking around, he'll bury you, or worse.
Anthony looked at the map, at the red line that a dying mother had clawed across the county. 6 months of failure stared back at him. He wasn't walking away this time. Alone in the evidence room, Anthony pulled the Cross Ranch file from a dusty shelf. The yellow, closed stamp mocked him. Inside were photos, the ranch house, empty cages, and a younger Brandon straining at his leash near a barbed wire fence. That night came rushing back, the team breaching the property, Cross watching with a cold smile, the suspicion that they'd missed something.
We were in the right place, but they hid the animals before we could find them.
From the file, he took a sealed evidence bag, a rag collected near the bunkhouse. He knelt, offering it to Brandon.
Find it, Brandon. Do you know this place?
Brandon inhaled deeply, tail stiff, then let out a sharp, urgent bark, alerting exactly as trained. A scent he had never forgotten.
It's her. The Bobcat was there, in that bunkhouse, or the barn, and you smelled her before she ran.
The pieces locked together. A failed raid, a hidden survivor, and a dog whose loyalty had just rewritten the case file. Anthony had proof of connection. But in a court of law, a dog's nose meant nothing. He needed something that could stick. Anthony marched into Kowalski's office, the case file open in his hands. He spread the collar photo and GPS map across the desk.
She came from Cross Ranch, Sarge. The collar proves it, and Brandon confirmed her scent. We missed something on that raid.
That case is closed, Mercer. Cross was cleared. For all we know, that cat wandered off some legal hunting preserve. Drop it.
Look at the map. She ran 15 miles through barbed wire. This isn't a random stray. It's evidence of a crime you are afraid to reopen.
Afraid? I am protecting this precinct from another public embarrassment. You were on that raid, and you failed. Want to fail again?
The accusation hit like a slap. Anthony's jaw tightened, but he didn't back down.
Then I'll go to the state police myself. They'll listen when they see the data.
You walk out that door with this obsession, and I'll have your badge before sunset. Your career, your pension, gone. Think about that.
Anthony stared at the torn transfer papers on the floor. A threat made real. He picked up his file and turned for the door. He was on his own now. No backup, no chain of command. But the Bobcat's GPS line on that map burned brighter than any warning. At midnight, Anthony combed records. 3 dismissed complaints against Cross Ranch. Gunfire, injured animals, a fired worker.
Ray Tuttle, fired for refusing to hide the animals. His number was still listed.
He called. A nervous man agreed to meet. Diner off, I-87, noon tomorrow. Before dawn, Dr. Chen brought the collar's biometric file. Heart rate spikes tracked her escape.
She was chased, trapped in wire, nearly drowned. Every spike was a fight she barely won.
Brandon recognized that fight. He didn't see a threat. He saw a survivor.
The map's red line pulsed with pain, but also a stubborn will that had brought her to his door.
I am meeting Ray tomorrow. If it goes south, take the Bobcat and kittens to your clinic.
I will, but be careful. Cross doesn't just ruin careers.
The warning echoed, but so did the sound of a dog whining for a stranger. He had to finish this. The diner smelled of stale coffee and fear. Ray Tuttle slid into the booth, eyes darting toward every passing car.
You worked at Cross Ranch. You know what happened to the bobcat that escaped.
Ray's hands trembled as he pushed a folder across the table. Inside, photos of a hidden bunker, chains, blood-soaked straw.
This is worse than I thought. Was the pregnant one, the one from last night, was she kept there?
He nodded, then slid a worn ledger across. Entry 889 BC. Pregnant female, scheduled hunt in 3 days. Price, 5,000.
She was a target, not a stray, a living trophy. And she fought her way out.
Ray leaned forward, voice cracking. Cross has deputies on his payroll. You take this to court, you'll be buried.
He's not burying this. He's not burying her.
He drove back in silence, the folder heavy on the passenger seat. Evidence of a crime the system had tried to ignore, but possession was only half the battle. One wrong move, and Cross would have his head before the badge hit the floor. Back at the station, Dr. Chen laid the ledger beside the collar's biometric file. The timestamps aligned perfectly.
Every spike in her heart rate matches a time Cross's men moved the animals. This is solid, Anthony.
Good, because Kowalski's been pushing you to release her, hasn't he? I think he's tipping Cross off.
He called twice yesterday, demanding I sign off. I stalled, but he's running out of patience.
Outside, a guttural growl cut the air. Brandon stood rigid at the glass doors, hackles high, staring at a pickup idling across the street.
Brandon, what is it?
Through the window, a man in a ball cap watched them. Not a passerby, a scout. He lifted a phone and snapped a photo.
That's Cross's man. He's not here for me. He's here for her.
The pickup peeled away, but its message was clear. Cross knew the Bobcat was alive, and he was coming to fix that mistake.
We're out of time. I'm taking this to the state police tonight. Keep her safe until I get back.
Anthony grabbed the file and his keys, but before he could reach the back door, Sergeant Kowalski blocked the hallway.
You are not going anywhere, Mercer. Animal Control is already on the way to put that beast down, and your badge is suspended.
You can't do that. I have proof. Photos, a ledger, GPS data. She's evidence of a crime.
Your proof is a stray cat and a dog with a nose. I've already called the state police. They agree the case is closed. You are done.
He's been covering for Cross all along. This isn't about the precinct. It's about protecting a monster.
Kowalski shoved a termination letter into Anthony's chest and walked away. The hallway felt like a cage, but Anthony didn't move toward the exit. He turned to the holding cell, where Brandon lay beside the nursing Bobcat. The dog's eyes were on him.
They're coming to kill her, Brandon. I won't let that happen.
He knelt, unlatched the cell, and gently lifted the Bobcat into a carrier. Brandon pressed close, a silent guardian. They slipped out the back, the file and evidence bag stuffed under his arm. The law had just become an obstacle, and he was now a fugitive with a stolen Bobcat. Anthony drove into the night, the carrier strapped beside him, Brandon's head resting on the seat back as if guarding the kittens.
Laura, it's Anthony. Kowalski terminated me and called Animal Control. I had to take her. Can you shelter us?
Minutes later, Dr. Chen's clinic door opened. Her face fell when she saw the carrier, but she stepped aside, beckoning them in.
I can keep her for a few hours, but if Kowalski finds out, my license is gone. What's your plan?
While Anthony laid out the evidence, Dr. Chen scanned the Bobcat's collar again. A second signal appeared, a low-frequency chip, not in the collar, but embedded in her skin.
This isn't just a study tag. It's a proprietary chip used by breeding mills. Cross wasn't just hunting these cats. He was selling them across state lines.
A multi-state trafficking ring. That's why the raid failed. Someone tipped them off. This goes deeper than I ever imagined.
The chip data mapped to a network of ranches and a distribution hub. Brandon's recognition no longer seemed just empathetic. It was his training alerting to a criminal enterprise.
He didn't just see a victim, he saw a case. and he's been trying to tell me since the first scratch on the glass.
But before they could move, headlights swept across the clinic windows. A truck idled at the curb, the same pickup from the station. Through the clinic's front window, a figure stepped out of the pickup, the ball-cap scout. Now cradling a rifle, Brandon's hackles rose.
He's armed. We need to move, now.
Dr. Chen killed the lights and grabbed the carrier, while Brandon let out a low, rumbling growl that promised violence. Anthony cracked the back door, leading them into the alley, just as the front door splintered under a boot. They ran. They piled into his car, the carrier rattling on the seat. Anthony floored it, headlights off, into the dark.
If Cross is sending armed men, he's desperate. He'll destroy every piece of evidence before we can strike. We can't wait for state police. I am going to the ranch tonight to photograph that bunker before Cross scrubs it clean.
That's suicide. He'll have men waiting. Let me call a Fed. I know. Someone outside this county's corruption.
Brandon rested his muzzle on the carrier, a silent promise to the trembling Bobcat that he would not fail her this time. She dialed, and a voice answered, FBI Special Agent Maria Vance. For the first time that night, a sliver of hope cut through the darkness. Agent Vance's voice crackled over speaker. You have enough to bring down a county, but I need the bunkers still intact. Can you keep Cross occupied until dawn?
I'll do more than occupy him. I'll bring you the proof. But I need someone to protect the Bobcat and kittens until this is over.
I'll take them to the safe house near the reserve. But Anthony, if you go into that ranch alone...
I won't be alone. Brandon will be with me.
The words felt like a compact. He was asking his K9 to walk back into the nightmare that had started it all.
He already chose her over training. Now I am choosing him over safety.
Dr. Chen nodded, and they swapped vehicles to throw off pursuit. She drove the carrier into the night. He turned toward Cross Ranch. The dashboard clock read 3:47 a.m. No backup. No badge. Just a dog, a camera, and a debt to a mother who'd clawed her way to his door.
If we don't come out, make sure that chip data gets to Vance. Cross doesn't win this time.
He pressed the accelerator, the dark fields blurring past, toward the place where a case had died and a Bobcat had been reborn. The headlights washed over the Cross Ranch gate, barbed wire gleaming like teeth. Anthony killed the engine and clipped Brandon's lead.
The bunker is behind the old barn. Ray's photos showed the entrance under a tarp.
He slipped through a gap in the fence, Brandon silent at his side. The bunker's steel door was ajar. Someone had been here recently.
Easy, boy. We need the photos.
The camera clicked, rusted chains on the wall, a bloodied floor drain, and a collar identical to the Bobcat's. Evidence of a federally protected species being held for slaughter. A floorboard creaked behind him. Eldon Cross stepped into the doorway, a rifle slung across his back, his smile a blade.
You must be the dog handler who can't keep his nose clean. That's 3 felonies by my count: trespassing, theft of property, and breaking into a secure facility.
You are done, Cross. The FBI has your chip data and the ledger. This bunker is just the tombstone.
You think a phone call saves you. By the time any feds get here, you'll be fertilizer, and that cat will be ash.
Brandon's growl split the darkness, a deep promise that Cross's next step would be his last. Anthony's hand tightened on the evidence bag. Photographs that could burn the whole operation down. Cross's hand moved toward his rifle. Brandon's growl became a blur of teeth and fur, knocking the weapon away. The rifle clattered to the floor. Cross screamed, but Brandon didn't release. 4 years of training channeled into one command: protect.
Brandon, out.
Anthony grabbed the evidence bag and pulled Brandon back. They scrambled out of the bunker, leaving Cross clutching his arm in the dark. In the car, he dialed Agent Vance. I have the photos and the chip. Cross is armed, but I am out. What's next? Vance's voice was tinny but firm. "Meet my team at the county line. We go in at dawn. Full tactical. You've earned a front row seat."
I am not sitting in a car. I am going in with Brandon. He earned this collar, and I am not letting him finish it alone.
He pulled up to the staging area, a field of black vehicles under floodlights. A tech handed him a vest, not his, but it would stop a bullet. He knelt and clipped a K9 tactical harness onto Brandon, his hands steady for the first time in hours. No badge, but still a team. As the first light bled over the hills, the convoy rolled. 12 vehicles, 20 agents, and one dog who had started this by refusing to attack. The convoy breached the gate, dust and light swallowing the ranch. A flashbang split the morning, and Brandon launched through the smoke.
Brandon, apprehend.
Cross was dragged into the daylight, his wrists cuffed behind his back, his empire now just a crime scene littered with evidence tags.
You'll rot for what you did to her, and to every animal you buried in that bunker.
Behind them, agents pulled back tarps to reveal rows of cages. Bobcats, foxes, a bear cub, all marked for slaughter. Agent Vance found Anthony near the transport van, Brandon sitting obediently at his feet. Her face was tight. The department wants this buried. Kowalski is already singing to save himself, but he'll drag you through the mud if you push for full disclosure.
If I fight to keep Brandon in the department, they'll use him against me. He'll become a liability, maybe even be put down. Then I am requesting his retirement. Effective today. He's earned more than a badge. He's earned his freedom.
The words cost him his partner, but it was the only way Brandon could truly be free. The Bobcat had clawed her way to his door, and now the dog who had recognized her would walk away from the only life he'd known. By week's end, the Bureau seized every animal. A sanctuary called Wild Haven, tucked into the foothills, agreed to take the Bobcat family and Brandon.
You don't have to do this, boy. You can stay with me, but I think you've already chosen.
Brandon whined, pressing his head into Anthony's chest. Then he turned toward the enclosure where the Bobcat watched from behind the fence. The gate opened. Brandon walked through without hesitation, his tail low but wagging, and lay down beside the Bobcat exactly as he had that first night. The kittens, now weeks old, stumbled over his paws. The Bobcat groomed his ear. No command, no leash, just choice.
He never was a weapon. He was always a guardian.
Dr. Chen handed Anthony the retirement papers, already signed. He's officially a Wild Haven resident, the same legal protection as every animal here.
I am not losing a partner. I am gaining a reason to visit.
He watched until the sun dipped behind the trees. The Malinois and the Bobcat curled together, two survivors who had found a home in each other. A paw print in the mud, broad and canine, overlapped by a smaller tufted one. Evidence of something no raid had found. The bond that broke every officer in that station. The morning edition hit every doorstep. K9's Mercy unravels trafficking network. A photo of Brandon lying beside the Bobcat beneath the headline. The state police issued a formal commendation. Courage, data, the GPS collar. But the citation singled out one line. Relied on K9 judgment under extraordinary circumstances.
I just followed my dog. He was the one who knew.
Reporters pressed about his future. His badge was suspended, but the department had quietly offered reinstatement. He didn't answer.
Kowalski's gone, but the machine that protected him is still breathing. I can't go back to that.
A week later, he parked at Wild Haven again. This time, the director handed him a set of keys. Caretaker's cabin is ready.
You're hiring a disgraced cop to muck enclosures.
She laughed, pointing to the sign. Wild Haven doesn't judge, it just gives animals a second chance. Same rule applies to humans. That evening, he sat on a bench near Brandon's enclosure. The dog trotted over, nudging his hand, tail sweeping the dirt.
We both ended up exactly where we belong.
The next morning, Anthony stepped out of the caretaker cabin, a cup of coffee warming his hands. The gravel path led to the Bobcat enclosure. Brandon saw him first. The Malinois burst across the enclosure, tail a blur, and slid to a stop at the fence.
Good morning, partner. Keeping everybody in line?
On a sun-warmed rock, the bobcat watched, her eyes half closed. The scar on her flank was now a silver seam. The kittens, no longer tiny, pounced on each other in the grass. She nuzzled one, then returned her gaze to the dog who had once lain down instead of attacking.
She doesn't just tolerate him, she trusts him. That's more than any command could have built.
Brandon lay down beside the bench, chin on his paws, watching the Bobcat family as if they were his own. Back in the cabin, a small desk held a framed photo, the glass door with a bloody paw print. Next to it, Brandon's retirement papers. He touched the glass of the frame, then looked out the window at the enclosure. Brandon was herding the kittens toward the shade, the bobcat padding beside him as if it had always been this way. Through the cabin window, Anthony saw Brandon gently herd a wandering kitten back to the shade. The bobcat watched without alarm. He stepped outside, the evening air cool. Brandon spotted him and bounded over, tail sweeping a low arc. The Malinois nuzzled his hand, but then turned back toward the bobcat, lying down a few feet from her as if resuming a post he'd chosen for himself. Anthony settled onto the bench. The kittens tumbled over Brandon's tail, and the bobcat finally rose and padded closer. She stopped an arm's length away. Anthony spoke softly. "You found the right door, didn't you?" A slow blink was her only answer.
He didn't need to ask for forgiveness anymore. This was the answer.
Night fell, and the enclosure lights flickered on. Brandon curled beside the bobcat, her head resting on his flank. The kittens slept piled between them. Near the gate, the mud held a fresh set of prints, canine and feline, side by side, pointing toward the shelter. Anthony took one last look and walked back to the cabin, his footsteps lighter than they'd been in years. On the desk, the framed photo of the glass door and the paw print cast a long shadow. He turned off the light and the night settled in. Dawn broke over the cabin, spilling light across the photo of the glass door. The paw print seemed to glow. Anthony opened the door and breathed the pine air. Down the path, the enclosure gate stood open. Brandon was already awake, herding the kittens back from the fence line, the bobcat rubbing against his shoulder. He walked over and sat on the same bench. No need to call. Brandon came, tail high, and dropped a stick at his feet.
I think you've got this handled, partner.
The bobcat settled under the tree, eyes half-lidded, watching them with the quiet ownership of a creature finally safe. Anthony scratched behind Brandon's ear, feeling the absence of a badge, but the fullness of something else.
She came to a police station expecting a cage, and instead she found a door. So did I.
In the mud, near the gate, the prints had dried into permanence. 2 species, 1 path. He picked up the stick and threw it, and Brandon raced after it, barking into the new day.